Hello and welcome once again to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott and I'm joined by Rob over here to talk about a very, very interesting and noteworthy PLE coming out of Puerto Rico. Now, what we're going to do, of course, is go back match by match. We're going to talk about all the biggest moments and we're going to talk about what it means going forward, of course, with the draft coming into effect soon and the Road to United Champions on its way as well. So we'll get into that right after this.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, so once again, welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. We're here to talk about Backlash, Rob, and it was an interesting show. We briefly mentioned it before we came on air, and I said, hey, think of the content, mate. Don't tell you too much just yet. But I think the general vibe I got from that is that you're pretty pleased with how the show went down. I am too. And I saw a lot of praise for it online as well. Still a few things that I think, maybe this could have been a bit different. But for the most part, it was a very, very enjoyable show. Talking of enjoyable shows as well, thank you so much to everyone that joined us last night on the build-up show, of course. If you haven't done that, in the past, basically how it works is on the night of a PLE, we get yourself and ourselves hyped up with the help of our friends in the wrestling media as well. So if you haven't already, check that out, because I know it was to preview a PLE, but we also go in depth on a lot of certain, special topics as well throughout. So without further ado, mate, let's get into Backlash, and let's start where we kind of went just a moment ago with, your general thoughts on the PLE.
It was so good. Like, in my opinion, this is it could be one of the best PLEs of the year.
Man, there's been some good ones like the past year as well. So that's saying something.
I would go out and say that better than Night 2 WrestleMania.
I think Night 2 has its stigma because there's certain things that should have happened, and it's hard to live up to Night 1, and it's a WrestleMania, so it's got its own standards. So I think as a standalone show, I wouldn't agree, but I get where you're coming from. It was a very enjoyable show. Should we just start?
Go on. Yeah, go on. I was going to say, it was just something about it. I mean, we always say if we look at a card and we think, oh, it looks like a B show, it doesn't look good. It's like a glorified house show. We've said the same thing with Saudi. We've said it many times. In the past, and we're like, oh, we don't know if it's going to be good. The Backlash before, we didn't like it. We didn't like the build, and it was really enjoyable. This one, yet again, we look at it as a stand of, doesn't look good. The matches aren't the greatest. We said it in the build-up. I think you said, if I was Puerto Rico, I'd be thinking, the card doesn't look good.
I would feel really let down by the slow, strange build.
They delivered so well, and I think, as we said, Puerto Rico crowd, they delivered as well, man. From start to finish, loud singing, they were so good. So yeah, man, everything about it just got me hyped for knowing that we've got a PLE coming over to the UK soon, and obviously to be a part of it and stuff like that. So it's got me excited now to watch a PLE.
That's it, mate. There's a lot to live up to, and like you say, this kind of, whether or not it felt like a house show, and like you said, I did say it was. I would have been a bit disappointed if I was a Puerto Rican fan that suddenly we just got this show that seemed to be at first really important, but then kind of lost in the shuffle. But the show itself, massively delivered. And I think, like you say, the crowd were a big part of that. It felt very similar to Clash at the Castle in its presentation, in some of the kind of performances as well. The matches were amazing. I think there's even possible match of the year candidates in this as well. It was an unbelievable showing from everyone, really. And again, we'll kind of get into each kind of aspect of that as we go throughout the stream here. But let's start at the very beginning of the show. They did again do that very cool drone shot. I've got to be honest, Rob, I think they overdid it at this show. It still wasn't loads, but it kind of started to be like, oh, okay, is this their new favorite toy? We're going to get this every week, 14 times a show. That's not what we got. It was only about 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 at a push. But I am fearful of where it could go, because all of a sudden you get this amazing, exciting, new, fresh shot, and I just don't want them to overdo it. But what they did on this show was quite good. Again, starting up the same way they did with SmackDown, as we said on our build-up show, SmackDown, and the crowd just kind of really got all of us hyped really for Backlash. And not only that, they started out, mate, with a very strong match. Of course, we're talking about the Raw Women's Championship here. Bianca Belair defending against Iyo Sky. A very noticeable thing straight away was just how much the fans were behind Iyo Sky. They weren't against Bianca, but as we've spoken about on other streams, the time feels like it might be coming soon where Bianca does kind of have fans turn on her, and it feels a little stale. I started to get a bit worried for her in this, but she did have a lot of respect in this as well, and she has overall. Even if people think she's getting stale, it doesn't mean people don't enjoy her or work. It just means we need to freshen it up, and I think there's a risk there, but again, no fault of her as far as her actually being a performer. And I think because of that, she had that respect level last night, even though there were definitely more people rooting for Iyo. We did get a little bit of a boo when it was clear Bianca was going to win. But I think it could have been a lot worse. Basically, I'll put it that way, as far as your babyface champion coming out on top, but not being appreciated. But talking of appreciating, mate, the match itself was amazing. I don't think any fan would have been coming away from that thinking they were kind of shortchanged or anything. I thought they worked very well together. There was that one spot where it went from looking incredible to looking incredibly scary and dangerous when Bianca has the one-arm press and drops it. Iyo sadly doesn't rotate enough and lands straight on her face. It could have been so much worse. Not here to highlight botches, as they say, and all that, but look, when we're talking about the performance of the match, you'd be silly not to mention something so scary. But other than that, like they performed very well together. Even after that, they didn't seem to be shaken. They continued performing really well after that as well, and of course it ends up with the damage control distraction. Of course, the whole thing we've been saying all along is that surely this is leading to a Bayley Iyo thing, and I think they planted the seeds really well there, because Bayley genuinely looked like she was trying to help, but then kind of messed up. So it's going to be typical Bayley. Look what you've done. You don't appreciate it, but now they're twisting it into Bayley being like, no, I seriously was just trying to help. It kind of backfired. So interesting to see where they go from there. And yeah, man, really, really enjoyed this match. What about you?
Yeah, honestly, I messaged you. I was like, the crowd are hot for Iyo. It felt like the crowd were trying to turn both superstars at the same time. Like, it really did feel like it. The crowd, obviously, the women delivered. The crowd really helped this match as well, because they were so loud and proud. It's a great opening match. Literally, I watched, when I was watching it, I was thinking, how whoever goes out next, how are they gonna top that? Like, what a match! I mean, I don't normally say that. Sometimes the opening match can really, it can either set a bar or kind of a low bar, or it does this thing where it's good, but there's a means that we can get better than this. But this match, I don't know how they can get better.
So top tier straight away, wasn't it?
Bro, it was like a main event match. Even with the annoying damage control bit coming in, honestly, I didn't want to see it. I just wanted to see it have a clean finish. I was just like, you know what? This is madness. Like, a clean finish for this match would have been great. The
match was good enough for it, but we can't shy away from the fact that the reason why we've got this match is because of the story behind it, so they had to do that. But I get what you're saying. It could have stood on its own without it. So in some ways it's a shame, but kind of makes sense. And I think it was done quite well. Again, sowing the seeds in a way that we expected, but also with a little bit of a twist that maybe we didn't see, as far as Bayley genuinely looking like she was trying to help. Also kind of want to point out some of the big moments in this as well. The huge power bomb off of the top rope and the several attempts of a Hurricane Runner and all that kind of stuff. Dakota Kai's distraction, that kick was sweet sounding. It was so well executed. So yeah, I thought it was really well done. It was a really enjoyable match. Like you say, it really set the bar for the rest of the show. It reminded me of, like you say, a main event. It reminded me of like when NXT was on fire. Like it reminded me of that.
I was about to say, obviously, yeah, it does. It feels like a main event match, but this is what happens when you give women time to perform.
They had loads of time, of time,
so much time. And
well, it felt like, at least, I don't know what the runtime was, but it felt like a lot.
I don't know. I didn't.
It felt like a decent amount.
I'm interested to see who was like the booker that produced it. I feel like it would have been like TJ, like Tyson Kidd, or what's his name?
Jason Jordan.
Jason Jordan, yeah. Because I feel like those guys love working with the women and giving them enough time to really showcase what they can do.
Yeah, quite often when we hear about their matches being good, it gets attributed to those two. So probably, I'd imagine it was either one of them.
I mean, I hope so. I mean, whoever it was, the booking, everything about it. But I said, to me, honestly, the stuff with Damage Control, I know it needed to be there to kind of plant the seed and feel for the next part of this story or whatever's going to happen. But it didn't need it. Or if we didn't get it and it was a clean finish and it was just a Iyo Sky coming up just short.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have been unhappy with that. Like, to me, it felt like just two baby faces going there to try and to go for the title. It literally felt like,
I guess the good thing about it though is that, again, leaning into the storyline, which is that's why the match was happening in the first place. And what we said last night about, just like with Clash as well, sometimes these feel like, are they going to be super house shows where it's not even canon and nothing continues? So at least it meant there was storyline progression where this would be referred to. And there were loads of other things as well throughout the night, but it was a good kind of indicator early on that this match mattered. It was important. It wasn't just kind of a freak kind of, you two go out there and just have a match for no reason. It was still kind of storyline driven as well. So I did enjoy it. Again, interesting to see the KOD set up, get a few boos. But I don't think she'll be too damaged from that just yet. I do think that time's going to come. And we talked about last night, is that a way to turn a heel? We'll see. But, as a performer, couldn't ask for anything more from Bianca. I thought she was incredible last night. And again, so was Iyo as well. Again, an unfortunate spot that thankfully didn't get worse, or as bad as it could have been. But overall, one of the best women's matches, one of the best matches I've seen in a long time. So, and that's saying something, coming off of, like you said earlier on, a really strong WrestleMania and a PLE calendar that's been stacked the last few months as well. So they've been on a hot streak, and they continued it here. Something that, again, helped was the fans. And I really liked it. It probably sounds silly, but I like that they counted in Spanish all night. Like, I know it just sounds obviously they would, but like, as an English-speaking wrestling fan who watches mainly English-speaking product and fans, like you just see the 1, 2, 3. So it was good to hear it in Spanish. I really like that. Tying in with that, of course, next up we saw Bad Bunny backstage talking Spanish, and I'd love to tell you what him and Mysterio are talking about, but it's been a while since I did Spanish in GCSE, and I've only got a very limited vocabulary. I can probably order a ham sandwich and a couple of beers, but there we go. That's my Spanish if I was going on holiday. But it was cool. Cool. It's not for me. I appreciate that they spoke in Spanish, and then Savio Vega comes in, of course, and ties in with later on, but he gives the kendo stick over. And again, it was good because it was like, I don't need to understand what they're saying. Like, I understood what they were saying. Like, I haven't read the transcript or anything like that, but I pretty much got what was going on through that. So I thought, it's no big deal. And then after that, we go into Seth versus Omos. And again, another match that I thought really, really delivered. It was a special attraction match, a very different match. And man, I really enjoyed it. We kind of talked ourselves into, what is this match for? Who is it for, as far as storyline and career progression? And we come up with a lot of different theories, of course, in our prediction show and on our build-up. But ultimately, of course, it was Seth Rollins getting a win. I'm pleased to say, and I wish I put a bonus point on this or something like that, but I only come up with it on the build-up show rather than on the prediction stream when we'd already locked him in. But predicting that Seth wouldn't be able to do it, he would need to do like a super stomp off of the top rope. I was thrilled at my kind of forward thinking, but disappointed that I didn't put a bonus point down for it. But great little kind of scene. And my initial thing was like, he couldn't reach the stomp, so I was wrong there. What it was, he just needed to do a bigger one, I loved Omos just holding tight, like I'm not going down. And then eventually he hits 2 stomps and he kicks out.
He
which
hits
is
2 stops, he
mad.
kicks out.
So again, the whole thing we're talking about whether or not Omos was going to kind of look weak from this, they did the best thing they could do. Because now this puts Seth into surely the title picture looking strong. But also, Omos did lose, and we have been concerned about that recently. But my goodness, did he look like an absolute beast in this match?
Has he turned you into an Omos sapien yet?
I'm on my way. I'm on my way.
Bro. I told you, he's I think sometimes you can look clunky, and I think as a big guy, I think it's hard to make something look more impactful. Example, Big Show, Carly, Strowman, Andre the Giant, like they can't just do an Irish whip and go into a corner. Do you know what I mean? Like they can do it on someone, but be thrown, it looks ridiculous. So when you're such a bigger guy, you're limited on what you can do because you can't take too many moves, but because it ruins the mystique about being a bigger guy. But then if you deliver too many heavy moves, that's it. You're a one-trick pony. So he does fall into a hard category, being a giant. And obviously, if he's not wrestling a giant, there's not much you can do. But man, they just delivered. Like I was just so happy. I was like, we had the first match, then this one, and we were just spoiled. I feel like we were spoiled in the first. I mean, I would say all night, personally.
Yeah.
But man, Seth made him look like $1,000,000. Like just everything about it, the movement, the fluidness of transitioning and taking the heat, and Seth being polished up for the big finish. Omos basically kicking out of stuff, and it made him look more like a monster. And the fact that the only thing they could do was a super stomp. What I'm waiting for is now a Seth Rollins shirt with that stomp. Like like for Jordan pose when he's when he did it. I reckon we're gonna get that on a Seth shirt.
Saying, cool.
Like, if not,
we'll make it. But no,
I can.
I
see
agree.
It, man, it looks amazing. Just everything about it, and almost looks. Everyone moans about him, but he looks. If he gets given enough time and certain people to work with,
for the right person,
it's just so good. I mean, that's not saying. I mean, certain people can. You can work. Say you work with Shawn Michaels, he could work with a broomstick and make it look good. I think Seth is in that category. And if anything, it's really just showing how good Seth Rollins is when you put him against everyone or anyone. He's just starting to deliver, and I think he's now on a level of he's in a world of his own. Like AJ's phenomenal. Seth Rollins is whatever the word comparable with today is. But
Freakin.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, freaking. Man,
I agree. I mean, Seth come out looking amazing as a great worker, and quite a respectful thing to do for Omos. I feel like, really, they're going to make him kick out the stomp twice? I was a bit unsure if that was a good idea, but no, that is the best thing to do. If you're not going to have him win, then the next best thing is to kind of make him look an absolute beast. Like I felt like, this is a WrestleMania thing where you do that, but maybe not. I think Omos needed that. So pleased we got it. Other big moments from this, of course, he kicks out on the frog splash on the 1 as well, which was another great example. There was a bit where Seth dived out the ring and almost caught him, turned it into a chokeslam onto the side of the ring on the outside as well. So it was a hard hitting match, and like you said, Seth, polished this match up real nice and kind of sold it, to his full potential. And I think it was the kind of match where you come out of it thinking both guys, look better for being in that match, So looking forward to seeing what they do with both of them next. And like you say, if Omos is presented in the right way, even like his attacking Seth during the song at the beginning, I thought that was so cool. Like, do that, get some heel heat that way. Like, do stuff that's different, Like, usually that spot I feel would be reserved for someone else, not Omos's character. But giving it to Omos again, even that I thought was a really nice thing to do for him.
I would like, if obviously moving forward, obviously we don't know what the plan is for Omos. But Andy was on the build-up show, said, "Why is it a giant always has to be a bad guy? Why can't it be a good guy?" So I love the idea of smaller guys, kind of like Seth's size. I say smaller guys, everyone's smaller to Omos, but Seth's size or around about. But then being heels and them trying to conquer the giant, and it's the thing they've got to do. So Omos is the baby face, putting on that kind of thing because the fans will be behind him instead of the other way. So reverse of what we got. that'd be interesting as a dynamic, as like Andy was saying, being a good guy, you know, like a babyface. So I mean, it could turn him, because the match that he had with Seth was really good. So
yeah, I think he's earning respect, and I think people want to like him as well. You know, like we said last night, like Andy said, you know, bringing up health things and stuff like that, and his past and his story, which I haven't really looked into myself, but it sounds quite interesting. And you know, again, I mentioned last night his art Instagram got found, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's nice." I think people want to like Omos, which is a refreshing thing, because it's easy to go, "Oh, the giant, oh, they're over pushing him," and yeah, that can be a problem at times. But I think we can't, you know, pretend there isn't potential there and a slot for him on the card, like you say. You know, he could be booked in a way that is kind of beneficial to him and the people around them, whether he's a babyface or a heel. So yeah, looking forward to see what they do there. And again, it looks like Seth's going towards the world heavyweight title. And yeah, we'll see how that goes in the coming weeks. Of course, we'll be back here covering Night Champions in depth as well. And stay tuned on this channel, guys, whether you're new here or you've been here a million times before. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and we'll keep you in the loop as far as our coverage for the next PLA, and of course, all the other wrestling action in between. Let's move on though to the next match, of course, which is another one where we were kind of thinking, like, what is the purpose of this match? Is it to make the new guy in Bronson Reed? Is it to solidify the champion in Austin Theory after, you know, just beating John Cena? Or is it to kind of give Bobby Lashley a run of something else, because he hasn't been getting much coming his way lately, annoyingly? So I think after all of our kind of back and forth, most of us aligned with the idea that it was probably going to be Theory retaining. Of course, it did end up being Theory retaining. But again, it was a good match. It was pretty much exactly how you predicted it to go down as well, where Theory would take advantage of Bobby Lashley basically hurting Bronson Reed. And yeah, you called it, man. What did you think of this one?
Again, delivered. I mean, how often is it when we have a PLE when the first 3 matches are solid?
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, we were so spoiled, you know, even like from the opening to the middle, I guess the middle of the card, it was so good, man. Just everything about it. Bronson Reed looked amazing. Theory doing what he was supposed to do, you know, taking, as I said, like the coward's way out, I guess. But I mean, if anyone was in that position, I mean, I think anyone would do that. So he done the normal thing of using what he could as his advantage, getting rid of Lashley. The idea of Lashley trying to run back in after the 3 count as well, not before. So he ran back in as the 3 count was done, and Theory rolled out. So all the attention was on Lashley and not Theory.
Yeah,
something that really just stood out for me. I was like, oh, okay. So even though Theory won, we're looking at Lashley and seeing his reaction. And I don't know, for me, some little things like that are just, they're so. So what does that mean? Are they doing something for that? But I think they're planting the seed for Lashley to do whatever it is with Theory. I think that's the plan, obviously, because technically Lashley didn't lose.
Could be, yeah. It could be just to make him not look weak. But like I say, just as we did in the last one, and the last 2 matches before this, it seems that everyone came out of this match looking good. I think Bronson Reed, you know, his moment, his opportunity was to be in the match, in the title match on that stage, not necessarily to win it just yet. And I think he looked incredible. It's the most I've ever been invested in him, I think. And I think, you know, he's kind of moved to the outside on Lashley, and like kind of that weird kind of backward splash thing landed on him and stuff like that. Was really cool. But yeah, the whole match was really good. Great sequences around the Hurt Lock, getting out of it and all that as well. And I think all of them performed exactly how they needed to, and it was a result that probably makes the most sense. I think Bronson Reed would have been nice, but maybe too soon. Austin Theory, does he need to still be the champ? I don't know, but again, you've just had him beat Cena, and then while Bobby Lashley needs something, is it the US title? I don't know. I'd rather see him in the World Heavyweight title picture or going after Roman Reigns. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, overall, a very good match. And another one I was glad to see on the card. Next up, we have, of course, Zelina Vega in an emotional entrance to start the match. Of course, her versus Rhea Ripley, the SmackDown Women's Champion. Look, it seemed all along that it wasn't going to be Zelina's night. It was, again, about, much like Bronson Reed, about being in that moment in that match and on that stage. And I think that's what it was for Zelina. She got a fantastic ovation on her entrance. You could see the emotion. I was emotional for her. And it was just such a nice moment. And again, I feel like if it was any other show, I would genuinely buy her being in the title picture anyway and in the main event. And I think she kind of lucked out in a way that they've given it to her because it's there. But same as Damian Priest, man, they were given that opportunity. Yes, it was a hometown crowd. Yes, they had momentum behind them. But I think they both examples completely delivered and showed why they should be in main event spots on their respective side of the the divisions as well. So really good match for me here as well. What did you think overall?
Just seeing Zelina get the love. Obviously it's a hometown, so it could be different anywhere else, but I think sometimes when you get love like that, it shows, I guess, how over you can be if booked well.
Yeah, it's your potential, right? Yeah.
And I think they could use that momentum going forward and make her a proper baby face. Like, just, I mean, we've got the LWO stuff happening now. Keep that going. I don't know if you see, but all the members of LWO got tattoos. To unite them, which to me is little touches like that. You know, when you just think, you know what, they're running with it and
already,
So let's just keep it going, man. Like, they're finally using Latino wrestlers and not just stereotyping them coming out on. Do you remember when they come out on like the grass
Mexicals?
They're finally treating them with respect, proper respect,
and not trying to be like, oh, this one's the next Rey. Like, no, they don't all have to be Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. Exactly. Yes, there's Rey Mysterio involved in this group, and Eddie Guerrero is referenced because it's part of his old group. Don't get me wrong, but they're not clones of those two people. No. They are still very different, and of course we see a lot of that coming into the Bad Bunny match later on as well. But I think you're right. It shows the potential that Zelina has. Yes, it's a hometown crowd, but I think fans want to cheer her anyway, and could be a good way to fully give her that babyface run and see what she can do after this. I've always thought she was a fantastic performer, even back in TNA. I thought she was incredible there as well. I've always really liked her as a manager, as a performer in the ring. She's always been quite entertaining, I thought. So what I also liked, speaking of in the ring, mate, they mentioned her cousin Amazing Red on the commentary as well. That was pretty cool to hear as well, and of course showed her family off at ringside. So great moment. Look, this was the hometown. It wasn't, again, it didn't dip. This was still a great match. It wasn't at the standard of the opening match, the other women's match, but it wasn't that match. It was a different type of match, and that's okay as well, So, and that's what was great about this PLE. All these matches were like completely different types of matches and things, The one concern I did have is that after this, Zelina gets her moment. She gets a big pop, and they go, you know what? We're going to do more Puerto Rico stuff. And I was like, oh, hold on a minute. Like, this match needs to go on later. And of course, I'm talking about Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest. My biggest concern going into that was that the crowd were going to get flat afterwards, that they would peak. And I do think they did peak. And I do think that the other two matches, although they held up and were still kind of, over, as they say, with the crowd, there was a little bit of a dip, but credit where it's due, both for performance and also for, and presentation, but also for the fans who were like, no, like, we're going to still kind of give our all in this as well. And I thought they were fantastic in the last two matches. But I do think switching around the Bad Bunny one with the Bloodline one probably would have been a little bit better in my opinion. But
that's so, as you said, that the going from the Zelina one into another Puerto Rico match, I was like, do you know what? I get it, because it's like, if they're hot for this, they're going to be hot for this. But I just think if they'd have done that when Bad Bunny had won, it would have given time for, even if Zelina was around, obviously like injured or whatever it was, of recovering, she could have come out like to celebrate at the end. It just felt like it was such a rush that, I don't know, it felt like the match kind of wove into, the kind of interlined in with it. Do you know what I mean? It just felt too busy straight away. That's my only criticism. However, from I guess from a booking standpoint, that's my only criticism with it. Because God, did this match deliver?
I mean, I thought, were the fans ready to do the hometown thing straight away? And well, Bad Bunny's entrance told me straight away, yes, they were ready. Although I still think it was probably not the best idea, I think they got away with it is what I'll say. So, yeah, let's go into the match itself. Like I say, unbelievable match. Bad Bunny's entrance alone was just, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now, mate. Like, the fans sing along to the song. Like, I loved it. It was a real kind of like within, like, this is why I like about WWE doing these overseas shows, you know, is this kind of, you get this real kind of cultural like representation and stamps. It doesn't always translate, don't get me wrong, but in that, when you've got a sea of people singing this superstar's song in their native language, I just thought, oh man, it was just incredible. And like Bad Bunny is just, it gives off like cool vibes, like, you know what I mean? He's one cool cat. And that was a great entrance. And then of course he brings out the weapons. And also, we'd had Damian Priest as well, who, as much as I think he was great for this match, I do feel somewhat sorry for him. Like, he's out there with Puerto Rico flags on his gear and stuff like that, and he can't fully take in the moment as the baby face and be the hero, which is a little bit of a shame, but it's just the way behind it. So this is the next best thing for him, you know, like if this was in a year's time or a year ago, it might have been him at the top of the card in a title match or something like that. Well, like, he might have been in the Drew McIntyre position, you know, where he doesn't do it, but everyone's behind him because he's been built in a nice way and it looks like he could be the guy. So maybe that's what we'll get in the future for Damian, because this Bad Bunny thing, like, they've done this on both sides as well. He was a babyface and teaming with him, and I like how they've woven this storyline in with that as well. The LWO, the Judgment Day, I think it's been amazing. But great entrance. And then the big spots in this one. First of all, we get it's like Damian Priest is, what is it? It's like a Falcon Arrow sort of thing.
Falcon Arrow, yeah. For the
but yeah, Bad Bunny does it as well. And they go through, they go off the stage and all that kind of stuff. Like, that was amazing. But I think, obviously, other than the big spots, the big moment in this one was Carlito, Savio Vega, and the LWO. I mean, again, chills again. Like, I'm not from Puerto Rico. Like, I don't completely 100% identify with the LWO, you know, like, but even within that moment, you're just like, you feel like you're part of it, you know, like, it was like, I'm so glad this is their guy. And like, when that music hit, Carlito's one, oh my gosh, it was one of the biggest pops I've ever seen in wrestling. It's one of my favorite. Already, I've watched it countless times back because it's so cool. And again, Carlito, a guy that deserves that, man. Like, he is such an underrated wrestler, you know. I think he's running WWE like he should have been a world champion. He was so good. And when he come back at the Rumble a few years ago, we thought he was going to get another shot. Of course, he came back on Raw. Then it kind of fizzled out and he didn't do anything. But again, he's in incredible shape and he is still so entertaining, so charismatic. And it just was amazing just seeing this is their guy. You know, it was like when we had Drew over here, like for Clash, it was, and I can't, not once did the thought that Carlito could be there come into my mind. Not once. And I feel embarrassed about that because that a big part of Puerto Rico's rich history of wrestling is the Colon family, you know? So in that way, bit of a shame we don't get to see Primo and Epico. If this was a few years ago, they would have had a big part in it as well. But bringing back Carlito for me was just my favorite moment of the entire night.
It was so good. As I said, like, these guys, again, I don't want to keep saying they delivered, but everything about it they did. You know, just I don't know. I feel like when I was watching this, I was at a loss for words of just how jam packed this.
Can't believe how good this is. Yeah, like
it was just mind boggling. You know, and obviously I know we joked about the lucha mask and all this sort of stuff. And you know, when you just think this is what that means to them. You know, like just Ray, the LWO, Bad Bunny, even Priest, you know, like performing in around home turf, getting the love and stuff that they deserve and stuff like that. You know, when you just think this is why they do it, and they do it for fans. But when they get to do it in their own country and they get that moment and they feel embraced and everything's cultural and it's all for them, you know, when you just think, just let them have that moment. Like, just let them soak it in. And as you said, I feel for Damian Priest because obviously he couldn't put a smile on his face. But I can guarantee he was inside. He had the biggest smile inside. And I think when they got backstage, there must have been tears. like just tears of joy and happiness. You know, from that to the Zelina match, everything about it. So, you know, the way they've represented Puerto Rico from a promo, like the promotional aspect, to the wrestling, to the cultural stuff, it's been fantastic. Everything about it was just so good, and it made me laugh. Like
the storyline is so perfect as well. It's come at such a good time because, you know, over the past few years, we've had the Ray stuff linked with the Judgment Day and then the Dom turn and all that kind of stuff. And now we've got the LWO and then the Puerto Rico stuff as well. Like, it's just, and then Damian Priest and how the Judgment Day have been pretty much one of the coolest things in wrestling for the past 2 years now. It's like, and then on top of that, Damian also having this history of Bad Bunny, and they've got the biggest megastar in the world in Bad Bunny. It's crazy how many things aligned and how many things they managed, how many points they hit, and even Savio Vega. You know, that would have meant a lot to those fans as well. They would have been their idol growing up, I'm sure, there as well, like it was for us with the British Bulldog and William Regal. You know, so it was again, just chills just thinking about it. Like, you know, we're not of Puerto Rican descent, but we can fully appreciate when that culture is getting honored and within that scene. You know, it was the same thing, you know, when it meant a lot of people to African Americans when Kofi Kingston won. I'm not African American, but I felt that joy, you know. And then it was the same thing when Bianca and Sasha headlined, you know, as two African American women. And then it's same thing again when they come over here, and you know, for us this time, and when it is Drew and stuff like that, it's some of my favorite things about wrestling. And yeah, Lucas always says, you know, they kind of flip-flop about this kind of the hometown person loses at the time, and then suddenly the hometown person starts doing really well out of nowhere, you know, like sometimes they do it that way. But I'm glad lately we're getting these kind of little bubbles that even if the hometown person doesn't win, like Drew, that whole thing is about that moment. Like, they still got so many moments within that. So yeah, I am over the moon about this. I thought it was handled so well. Other than its placement on a card, I thought it was, and this is what I mean, it was the best thing about about the show. It should have gone on last. Not that what went on last was bad, but this is what we will remember this show for.
Yeah, definitely. I really agree. As you said, it was just capturing those moments like lightning in a bottle. Like, if you catch it, that's it. Like, you know, gold dust or whatever you want to call it. It's just, there's a moment that you'll never like lose, and you'll remember it. You know, Zelina puts you'll remember it. I think on her Twitter, she'll remember it for the rest of her life or whatever. And you do. You know, it's them moments where you think, do you know what? For Priest, this was his WrestleMania moment. You know, it's one thing I do want to touch on though. All the Judgment Day coming out in white, and the reason being that they are the good guys in this story.
Yeah, I like that. That's what he says. Yeah,
so good, so good. You know, and just them looking in the white and having a little bit of black and the purple with them and stuff. It's just, there's a different side to Judgment Day.
Yeah.
We're used to the black and purple. So little things like that. Zelina coming out with the Puerto Rico flag, obviously draped across her arms, wearing it on her shoulders, you know, with pride and things like that. Just, it's those little things that you get, you know, when you think that adds to it, you know, the little the way they've represented Puerto Rico in those two matches alone, without talking about the rest of it, was just it was just fantastic, man. It put a lump in my throat. Like, it was so good.
Me too. Again, I think I'm going to watch that Carlito moment over and over again in the coming days as well. So, and I hope we see more of it. I really do. And it was cool to see them as like honorary members of the LWO as well. That was pretty cool as well. So, but yeah, we can't forget the biggest honorary member in this, of course, Bad Bunny doing his incredible destroyer again as well on Damian, and that was incredible just to pull off, just for Damian's size. You know how tall he is. That's a tricky, risky move to do.
It's bad enough being small guys doing that.
So. Yeah, so man, that was so well pulled off, and really enjoyed it. Got a quick comment here from Sludge Sports joining us live as well. Hello, mate. Thank you so much for coming back. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday and enjoyed Backlash, and of course, thank you for coming last night on our build-up show as well. Everyone that watches live or on demand would love to hear your thoughts on Backlash, so let us know in the comments, and tell us what you thought of the event overall. Yeah, we've just been talking about the placement of the card and stuff like that. And of course, now we move into the Bloodline match. Now, for me, a big apparent thing to me lately has been that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are still over big, and so are the Bloodline. But because of the strange things surrounding Sami in Elimination Chamber and Cody in WrestleMania, it's definitely dipped. But I'm pleased that at the same time, the LWO and Judgment Day stuff has risen. So I think they're getting away with it. And like basically nearly every act that is being used is like hot at the moment. They're on fire. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it did make me realize just how fast it's happened that I was way more invested in the LWO and Judgment Day stuff than I am the Bloodline. Like a few weeks ago, you could have given me 3 hours of Bloodline on Raw, and I would have been like, yes, like everything they do is gold, and they're still performing well. And I think we saw some good things in this, but it just made me realize how like risky some booking decisions can be as well. Sludgeball says, I love Backlash, even Omos versus, I'm guessing Seth there. Yeah, we've touched on that already, and here we go. Got the full thing here. Even Omos versus Seth Rollins match was good. The best match was probably Iyo versus Bianca or Priest and Bunny. So yeah, it was above my expectations. Exactly there, mate. Exactly agree. So agree with you completely there. Go on.
Was it Sludge that was screaming at me in capital letters last night saying that Omos is? Are you an Omos sapien yet? You have to.
Come on, Sludge Sports. Are you an
Omos sapien?
Surely
like, people can't be sleeping on him now.
It was fantastic. It was, and like Sludgeport says, above and beyond expectations. I was hoping for a good event, and I thought we could get it with these matches. Again, the build felt a little bit off to me, and the way it's been lost in between and possible risky booking decisions because of the draft. But no, I really enjoyed it. Cameron Wright is here as well, giving us a big hi. Hi to you as well, Cameron. Thank you so much for coming back here on the stream. Hope you enjoyed Backlash as well. But yeah, going back into our Bloodline situation again, as much as I'm enjoying every single person we see in this graphic, it's not the top of the card for me anymore. It's not the pinnacle. It's not the thing I'm most looking forward to at the moment, at least. That was Bad Bunny, Damian Priest, Judgment Day, LWO, and all that. But man, WWE are doing pretty well when your second best act is the Bloodline versus, unbelievable how big Sammy's been over the past year as well. So, man, they're doing well. But I thought this match was quite good as well. I did feel at the beginning it was harder for me to pay attention because it was very apparent to me how much I was still excited about the last ones and kind of thinking. I kept thinking, I wish I was watching that again. Like more of that. I want more of that, which is why I think the placement was kind of hard on this. But I did like Jay basically taking control in this and being like, well, I'm going to make everyone care again by giving an incredible performance character-wise, not just in the ring. Having to go at Sami Zayn, reminding us about that kind of blood side of the feud as well. And then Jay doing the hard tag in on Solo looking at Jay, and that amazing moment where Solo was looking at Jay and just kind of contemplating, am I going after him? And he started going towards him. Was it Kevin just comes out of nowhere and knocks him over as well at the same time? No, it was Riddle. Riddle jumped over. And then, Solo nearly spikes Jay by accident. And then, Solo wins with, not by accident. He's thinking about it after a while. And then, of course, Solo winning with a spike on Riddle as well. So this kind of, again, one of those where it did exactly what it needed to do. As far as I know, people getting bored of the Bloodline thing, kind of twisting and turning, whether or not they're going to kind of turn on each other. But this is a good way to stretch it out, Like I thought they'd stretch it out by ignoring it and be, it was all a swerve, we're all best buds. Or the other idea was that it happened, but it wasn't. It was a happy medium between the two of them. And again, I think performance-wise, great. And I still think it was harder to get into it and invest because of what we had just seen. But it was still really, really enjoyable. Could he get Sludge Sports here? Probably his best match, but I did see botches. Oh, come on. Talking about Omos again. He's getting better. He's getting better. Go on. What did you think, Rob, as far as the Bloodline?
I think this is one of the matches that I think this is the match I least enjoyed of the whole card. And that's not even to say that it was a bad match.
It's hard, isn't it? When it's like the Usos, Sami Zayn.
Bro, like, when was the last time I said the Usos match is not my favorite match?
It just didn't feel as important.
Yeah, but I think it's because it was the story for it was to go for Bloodline. Like, I think that was the thing, because when we were talking about it, I was like, we just don't care about this match, and that's no disrespect to any of the guys in the match, but for the title is there basically move a story on for something else. Because if the Bloodline is the story is about the Bloodline imploding, then fine. But Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Riddle were still a part of what's happening. Are they going to be the reason it implodes? Is it because of Jay? Is it Solo? So everything that they teased for within the Bloodline happened without having to need the other 3 guys in the match. So do you know what I mean? It just felt like there was things happening, and the only time it was good was the Samoan Spike, when obviously it was hit on them once and then it almost hit on Jay. But it felt like the rest of the time it was just Bloodline heavy amongst themselves.
Yeah.
So I know that they need to tell the story, and I know that they need to basically kind of set the next bit in stone. But it just felt like the other 3 guys were there for that reason. They were there to basically allow that stuff to happen and basically just wrestle. And I felt it just felt lost on me. The match itself was delivered. Like, if you take away all that stuff, the match was really good. Everyone flying about all over the place. A typical 6-man tag match. Like, that's what you get. Chaos everywhere. People being battered left, right, and center. Solo looking like an absolute monster. And it was all good. I really enjoyed it. I just felt this was my least favorite match on the card. And it was only, as you said, a couple months ago, it was like, I cannot wait to see this.
Now, give me everything to do with the Bloodline. Yeah.
And now
it's just unfortunate timing, I think. It's come at a time where the other feuds are doing very well. It's just hot, and it's kind of, it has, like, we keep giving it the benefit of the doubt because it's been so good, but it does drag on. And not having Roman on this show, I thought was a real kind of not a nice note, especially for the fans over there in Puerto Rico. But I saw quite a few people saying this felt like a Raw match. It belonged on Raw. But the argument against that is that there needed to be some. If you ain't got Roman, there needed to be some sort of progression in. You can't not use those guys on this card after the year they've had. All and even Riddle after before he went away, it was on top as well. So you can't not do something with them. So they kind of needed to do something, and I think what they did do was really well done. The stuff with Solo and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. It did do its job as far as kind of keeping me, I think, intrigued as far as what happens next with the Bloodline. But going into the match, before knowing that was going to happen with Solo, I was thinking I could do with not watching this.
Yeah, like I think it done what it needed to do for the Bloodline, but it didn't do anything for Owens, Zayn, or Riddle. Because now it's like, okay, so they won, but Solo picks up the victory, right?
With a spike on Riddle,
Yeah, so Riddle basically took the pin, as we said would probably happen in the predictions, and it'll probably be Solo that gets does the pin, which we said would happen. But now it tells a story for the Bloodline. But so what? So they got the pin. So do we get them again? Is because Riddle. So I'm assuming at Night of Champions, are we going to get Riddle versus Solo? Is that going to be a thing? Because I don't think Owens and Zayn are going to be there. So
and they can't
fall short again.
Gloss over what happened with Jay and Solo. They got the win together in the end, but Solo tried to beat our brother. So it was they've got to acknowledge that. Speaking of acknowledge, Roman Reigns is going to be on SmackDown as well, so it'll be interesting to see where they go with this. And again, now that we're kind of getting all this shaking up in the draft, going on to Night of Champions, it's going to be really interesting to see where the chips land after they fall, sort of thing. So it'll be I'm looking forward to it. So at least coming out of it, I am still invested. I'm not as invested as I was in that spell between the Rumble and WrestleMania of Elimination Chamber in the middle, but I am more invested than I think I could be. I could have fallen away by now if they hadn't had that cool moment with Solo. I think that's what we're all kind of waiting for to see what happens there anyway. So good match. And again, strange because it wasn't bad, but it was the match was kind of, it was the clear dip in the night, but which is wild to say, but that's how you know it was such a good show when this one, as good as this was on its own, within the context of the show is seen as a dip. So wow, what a show. And then we go into the main event. The other main event, even though the two main events were separated from each other, of course, was Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes. Now, this one was a big concern to me because I was like, why? We still don't know why Brock returns, and it really needs to be Cody getting his win back, in my opinion. And we could have a certain style of match. I'm sure it would be entertaining, but going on last as the main event just seemed weird to me. And I know a lot of people after the Bad Bunny thing were so confused about that they thought something big's going to happen tonight. Like, is Reigns coming out? Is something going on in that sort of realm, or is there going to be some sort of addition to this storyline now with someone else? No, it wasn't. It was just a great little match between the two, you know. So obviously helped, I think, by Lesnar being legitimately busted open. It just created these amazing visuals. I feel bad for the guy because it didn't look like it was a pleasant experience. But go on.
Some people are saying that he done it hard way for the match. I mean,
risky move though.
It's controversial. Obviously, yes,
Yeah.
I know. Obviously, there's not much blood in WWE now. Obviously, with the scenario with Finn at Hell in a Cell against Edge, obviously you cut open the amount of stitches and staples and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we spoke about that, and it was like they covered it up and stuff like that. But for this one, they didn't. So, was it intentional? Yeah. That's my question. Was that intentional? Did they say or do it hard way? So then that way you're bleeding.
You know what? It's in with the history of like Puerto Rican wrestling and stuff. You know, it was a territory that was very much about hardcore and blood at times as well. So it kind of I like that it fit in there. But yeah, maybe it was planned because it was a lot of blood.
Brutal,
wasn't it? It was
brutal.
Yeah, a great spectacle at least. Slow Sport says, I didn't like this match. I was playing darts while this was happening. I didn't care. Are you talking about the Bloodline match, mate, or are you talking about the Brock Cody one? But yeah, I could definitely see where people kind of tuned out of either one after the points you mentioned about the Bloodline one, and also about the potential pitfalls of this one as well. Just want to say, guys, whether you're watching live or on demand, we love hearing what you got to say about, our opinions and about the shows that we're talking about, as well. So, of course, let us know in the comments whether you are joining us live or on demand, what you thought of Backlash. And if you do join us late, don't forget to go back and watch the beginning of the stream where we've covered pretty much all of the matches up until this main event now as well. Sludge Sport says, honestly, both of them. Okay, fair enough. I think the timing was off, but they were still good.
Yeah, I do think the timing. Sludge, I'm interested to know if Bad Bunny and Priest have gone on last and these two matches happened before. So we would have had the lineup would have been the Bloodline and Owens Zayn Riddle, then Brock versus Cody, and then the Bad Bunny versus Priest. Would you have then cared about the matches? Because I feel like a lot of people are saying that they weren't too fussed about the last two because they want to see the Bad Bunny one. Is that overshadowing what they wanted to see?
Yeah, so Susport says, I think the 6-man tag should have opened. I could see a world where that did. It's tough to say that now when the opener was so good. And it really did set the pace for the event. But yeah, it makes sense. I've done a video for you, Scott and Rob. Okay, Cameron, if you can send it over, we'll try and check that out when we can. Thank you for that, buddy. But yeah, everyone that's joined us, drop some comments, let us know what you thought of the show itself. But yeah, going back to the match, I thought it was perfectly done as far as like what should happen, and that's Cody Rhodes get his win back, and also get it by looking strong, but also like not damaging Brock. Like it was so surreal to see him hit the Cody Cutter and the disaster kick on Brock Lesnar, you know. So it was it was really cool to see. He kicks out the F5 as well, and of course he wins by kind of leaning into Kimura, which I think the blood added to it because it showed like a possible impairment for Lesnar and a possible kind of distraction and weakness as well. So yeah, what did you think about the way this was booked?
Oh, it was great, man. It was. I think if there's a way to make Cody look like, obviously he took the loss at Mania, there's a way to make him get some momentum again. It really, I think this was the way to do it. And again, it's that 2012 John Cena run, because Cena beat him at Extreme Rules, and at that time as well, Lesnar was busted open. So it feels like they're on a mission. They're on a mission to push Cody. I just don't want him to have the World Heavyweight title. I want him to go for the WWE Championship. But I don't know. I mean, as you said, could it be Money in the Bank? What's next for Cody? That's my only thing, because now he's overcome Brock Lesnar, which not a lot of people get the chance to do. So now that's happened, what next? Because we had Roman versus Brock for a very long time.
Mm.
You know, and Cody's just beat him in his first match with him. So where do we go from here? That's my next thing. So what's next for Cody?
Yeah, still not sure why Brock was involved and why Brock's suddenly a heel and why he do anything to help Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns' cause, you know, unless it's because Roman was like, you'll get a title match at the end of it. But like, I think it was just simply to distract us from the Roman Reigns situation and give. They thought Brock was. It's almost like the Big Show role where they were like, "Oh, you can do this. We'll give it to you. Like, you'll be a believable threat to." You know, so it was a bit of a strange one there. I've just seen that Cameron said it's in the chat. It hasn't shown up, Cameron, but I found your account. So what we're going to do, we're going to try and share this and we'll get your comments sent in. Thanks a lot, mate, for sending in a video to us again. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on this as well. So anyone that's in the chat, guys, drop your comments below. Let us know what you thought of the show overall. Let me see if I can share this. There we go. Here's Cameron's video.
Hey, RN Pro Wrestling. So this is an update of the very, very first video I sent you, and it was showing you of all the wrestling belts I had. So since I haven't got long, I am gonna show them all quickly. So obviously I've got the United States.
Yeah, United States.
I've got the tag team.
Classic tag title there.
I have got both Raw
and SmackDown Universal Wrestling
and SmackDown Universal belts.
Look at the mask as well, Rob. He's the new lucha.
I went to for my first wrestling show, RN Pro Wrestling.
Oh wow!
Mega Slam, and that's where I got this mask from. So I hope you guys enjoy this.
Brilliant. Once again, Cameron, thanks so much for sending that in. Of course, you told us the other day you went to your first live show. And it was interesting to hear about your first experience there, mate. I'm glad you got picked up some extra merch. And Rob is the new luchador in town, mate. What do you think about that?
I mean,
Rob's froze. I missed you there. What did you say?
I mean, I said we've got to start our own LWO. That's it's happening.
No, thanks again, Cameron, for sending that in. And again, everyone in the comments, let us know what you thought of Backlash overall. Thanks for the update there, mate. But overall, man, I really enjoyed this show. I still am confused by a lot of things going forward as far as the title pictures go, with the World Heavyweight, also with the women's titles as well being on the brands. But it's still an exciting time. And I still think there is possibility for them to shoot themselves in their foot as far as some of the booking goes. But I am optimistic that we're about to get some good things for most of it. I hope they don't just drop the LWO stuff now. I hope they don't just drop Damian Priest and Zelina Vega and all this kind of stuff, because we're done with the Puerto Rico stuff. You know, I hope they really do capitalize on the hype, because it isn't. It's easy to go, that just happened there. But no, look at Twitter. Look at everybody online. Look at the way we're talking about it. You know, we're all saying, like, I'm not Puerto Rican. I wasn't there. But I'm still like, man, what a show and what a performance from these, guys and girls. So that's my biggest kind of hope really going forward. But looking forward to the next few weeks in WWE, mate, and how it plays out. Of course, like we said, we're on our way now to Night of Champions. Any kind of final thoughts, Rob, before we wrap up?
No. So obviously we were saying before we come on there that it took me about 3 attempts to watch this PLE because I fell asleep. Then I woke up again, watched another 2 matches, and then fell asleep. Then I had to watch the Brock and Cody one before we came live. But my wife still hasn't seen it, so I might actually be able to watch it in its entirety all together with her. So so I'm looking forward to it. But I just think, look, if there is ever a way to really showcase a hometown and a location and all of its culture, boy oh boy did they really do it. And it wasn't just in the 2 Puerto Rico matches, it was start to finish. It's just absolutely insane. I am so excited for Money in the Bank now, because Andy said, well, actually Sam Smith said from Give Me a Hell Yeah, he said that we are the loudest fans and we are the rowdiest fans, like UK that is. I wonder what he thinks now.
Because man, like, look, Puerto Rico
that was a bold statement.
You know what helped was the song. We don't have a song. I mean, you know what we do? We're singing "Hey Bailey" the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, without a backing track. You know, so. We kind of don't have the same thing, but we do. But yeah, mate. Challenge accepted. Excited. Looking forward to see what the Brits bring at Money in the Bank. What's that? Game on, yeah. Next up is Saudi. Game on. Little Wayne's World reference for you there. If you fancy listen to me talk about Wayne's World, check out the Talking Beans podcast. There we go. I'm looking forward to again. Even the next one, Saudi. I know Saudi shows are kind of controversial in their own way, but I have enjoyed the past few years where they've become more than just a glorified house show, and they've become canon, and they've become quite enjoyable and stacked shows. And of course, by our standards over here in the UK, as far as our time frame goes, we can watch that at a decent time as well. So it's not going to be a 1 a.m. start for us. It's going to be about 5 p.m. I think it is for us in the UK. So that means we're going to be doing a watch along like we usually do for the Saudi shows. We're hopefully going to have instant reactions, recap and review, build up show, and all that fun stuff as well. But of course, in between then and now, we'll also drop in a few extra. What are you laughing at?
Just a comment in the.
Is it a comment? Okay, I'm gonna bring it up. So Cameron says, "So am I in the RNWO?" That's a cool. Yeah, I think you are, Cameron. That's for life.
That's merchandise right there.
Yeah, thanks for that one, Cameron. But yeah, and thank you to everyone that's joined us tonight, Sludge Sports as well, for your comments, and everyone that's been watching in the background, lurking and not dropped in your comments just yet. Feel free to let us know what you think at the end of the stream as well. Anyone watching on demand. But yeah, it's been a great time talking wrestling. I've really enjoyed Backlash, man. Everything around it, and man, I'm kind of jealous that you're going to watch it again. I don't think I could be bothered to watch a whole show again, but I think I certainly will watch that Carlito moment a few more times over the next few days. But like I said, we are the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. We'll be back in a little bit of time. There we go, Cameron, to talk more wrestling for you here on this channel as well. If in the meantime you want more content for us, check out our build-up show from last night. I know, again, it is about kind of getting ourselves and yourselves hyped up for the event, but we do not only just predict the event, but we talk about the general kind of wrestling scene and what's going on as well surrounding it. Rob did a great video, speaking of LWO members, a few weeks back of Rey Mysterio and his career. So if you haven't already checked that out, it's the reasons that Rey Mysterio has become a Hall of Famer as well. So if you haven't already, please check it out on this channel. Again, we'll be covering Money in the Bank when it comes here to the UK. We'll be covering All In as well. So it's going to be a very exciting time on this channel. Now's the time to subscribe, guys, and check out more of our content. Stuff in the past that you might be able to sink your teeth into if you're a fan of the Judgment Day or what Rhea Ripley has been doing lately, and then you'll appreciate hopefully our interview with her as well, and fellow members of the Judgment Day such as Finn Balor and of course the fantastic Damian Priest, who performed so well last night. We've got watch-alongs on this channel from classic PLEs over the years as well. So if that's your kind of thing, then yeah, feel free to go check that out. But once again, I've been Scott. This one over here has been Rob. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us throughout the weekend. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Subscribe and don't forget to ring that bell for notifications. See you in a bit.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.